Exiled from Eden, Adam and Eve face a blazing sunset. Paradise lost, but humanity's journey begins. Follow me in this life-changing journey of Adam and Eve displayed in chapters for clearer understand.
After making the skies and seas, the mountains and trees, God had one more masterpiece to create, a home for the first man and woman. This wouldn't be just any home. Oh no, this would be the most beautiful place the world would ever know. God planted a garden, and he called it Eden. Imagine stepping into a place where the air feels warm and soft, like a gentle hug. The sun shines golden light through leaves as green as emeralds. Rivers dance and sparkle as they wind through fields filled with flowers of every color you can imagine. Bright reds, sunny yellows, deep purples, and sky blues. Everywhere you look, fruit trees stand tall and strong, their branches heavy with sweet treats. Some glisten like gold, others shine like rubies. When you bite into them, the juice runs down your chin and makes you smile without even trying. Birds with feathers like rainbows sing songs sweeter than any music you've ever heard. Lions lie lazily in the grass, while lambs nap beside them without fear. Rabbits hop playfully past the feet of gentle elephants. In Eden, every creature is a friend, and every sound is peaceful. And in the very center of it all, God made a special place for the first man, Adam, and the first woman, Eve. They were given the most wonderful job to care for the garden and enjoy its beauty. Each day in Eden was perfect, and every evening, as the sun began to set, God himself would walk with Adam and Eve, talking and laughing with them as friends. Imagine the creator of the stars walking right beside you, smiling as the fireflies come out to dance in the night. In Eden, there was no sadness, no pain, and no fear, only joy, beauty, and love. This was the home God had dreamed of for his children. In the very heart of the Garden of Eden, where the sunlight felt warmest and the grass grew softest, God placed two very special trees. They weren't just ordinary trees. They were unlike anything else in the world. The first was the tree of life. Its trunk was wide and strong, like it had stood for 1,000 years, and its leaves shimmered with gold when the light touched them. The fruit that grew from its branches looked like glowing pearls, smooth, round, and shining softly, as if they held a little piece of the sunrise inside. Anyone who ate from the tree of life would live forever in joy and peace. Beside it, a little farther away, stood the second tree, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This tree was tall and mysterious, with deep green leaves that whispered in the wind. Its fruit was beautiful, glowing with a tempting red color, almost like it was calling out to be picked. But there was something different about this tree. It wasn't just for eating. It was a tree with a choice inside it. God brought Adam and Eve to these trees, his voice gentle but clear. "You may eat from any tree in this whole garden," he said, "but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. If you do, you will surely die." It wasn't that God didn't want them to have something good. It was that he loved them too much to let them choose what would hurt them. The tree's fruit wasn't meant for them, because knowing both good and evil would bring sadness, pain, and things they had never known before. So every day Adam and Eve could walk past the two trees. The tree of life stood there, glowing with God's promise, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, well, it stood in quiet stillness, its fruit gleaming, waiting for someone to decide if they would obey or not. The garden was full of freedom, beauty, and love, but also trust, and trusting God was the most important thing of all. One warm, golden afternoon in Eden, when the air smelled like fresh blossoms and the rivers sang softly, a new sound rustled in the garden. It was a slithering sound, slow, smooth, and sneaky. From between the bushes slid a serpent, but not just any serpent. This one had eyes that sparkled like polished stones and a voice as smooth as honey. It was clever, very clever, and hidden deep inside its heart was a dangerous plan. The serpent had been watching Adam and Eve for a long time. It had seen them laugh together, care for the animals, and walk with God in the evenings. But most of all, it had seen them pass by the tree of the knowledge of good and evil without ever taking a bite. One day, as Eve walked near the tree, her fingers brushing the flowers nearby, the serpent slid closer. It tilted its head and spoke in a voice almost like a whisper. "Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden?" Eve looked at the serpent in surprise. She answered honestly, "We may eat fruit from the trees in the garden, but God said we must not eat from the tree in the middle of the garden. We must not even touch it, or we will die." The serpent's mouth curved into what might have been a smile, but not a kind one. "You will not surely die," it said softly. "God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like him, knowing good and evil." Eve felt her heart beat faster. She looked at the fruit. It was so bright, so perfect, and it smelled sweeter than anything she had ever known. The serpent's words curled around her mind like vines. "Don't you want to be wise? Don't you want to know what God knows?" The gentle breeze seemed to pause. The birds grew quiet. Even the leaves stood still, as if the whole garden was waiting to see what Eve would do. The serpent watched, silent now, its glittering eyes fixed on her. The choice was hers. Eve stood before the tree, her eyes fixed on the shining fruit. It hung there, glowing in the sunlight like it had been painted with gold and brushed with red fire. The scent floated through the air, sweet, inviting, almost like it was calling her name. The serpent's words still curled in her mind. "You will be like God. You will know what he knows." Her fingers twitched. Her heart thumped like a drum inside her chest. She took one slow step forward, then another. Her hand reached out, and for a moment she hesitated. The leaves above rustled softly as if whispering, "Don't do it." But the serpent's voice slid in again, silky and sure. "Go on. Just one bite." Eve's fingertips touched the smooth skin of the fruit. It was cool at first, then warm from the sun. She wrapped her hand around it and tugged gently. Snap! It came free from the branch. The garden seemed to grow still. She looked at it in her hand. Perfect, beautiful, tempting. Then she raised it to her lips. She took a bite. Crunch! The juice spilled into her mouth, sweet and rich, unlike anything she had tasted before. A strange, swirling feeling filled her mind, like new doors were unlocking inside her thoughts. She turned to find Adam nearby, watching her. "Adam," she said, holding out the fruit, her eyes wide and bright. "Try it. It's wonderful." Adam looked at her, then at the fruit. He remembered God's warning, but he also saw Eve's eager face, and so, slowly, he reached out and took it from her hand. He bit into it. The same strange feeling rushed through him, a mix of wonder and something else he couldn't quite name. But then, in an instant, everything changed. The garden didn't seem quite as warm or bright. The air felt heavier. The singing birds sounded distant. Adam and Eve looked at each other, and for the very first time, they felt something they had never known before. They felt shame. They realized they were naked, and quickly began sewing fig leaves together to cover themselves. Somewhere in the distance, the wind carried the sound of footsteps. God, was coming. The golden light of afternoon spilled over Eden, turning the river into a ribbon of shining silver. Normally, this was Adam and Eve's favorite time of day, when the air was cool and God would walk with them, speaking in a voice as gentle as rain. But today, it was different. Today, they heard his footsteps, and instead of running toward him with smiles, their hearts pounded with fear. Adam grabbed Eve's hand. "Quick, we have to hide," he whispered. They darted into a thick patch of trees, their bare feet kicking up leaves. They crouched behind a large fig tree, clutching the leafy coverings they had made. The shadows wrapped around them like a blanket, but their hearts still beat wildly. Then came the voice, not angry, not loud, but deep and searching, like it could reach right into their souls. "Adam, Eve, where are you?" The sound rolled through the garden, brushing over the flowers, rippling the grass, echoing over the rivers. The animals paused in their play, lifting their heads to listen. Even the wind seemed to wait. Adam swallowed hard. He could hear his own breathing, fast and shaky. He peeked through the leaves but didn't answer. Again the voice came. "Where are you?" Adam finally stepped forward from the shadows, his eyes lowered. I heard you walking in the garden," he said softly, his voice trembling. "I was afraid, because I was naked. So, I hid." God's eyes, kind yet knowing, rested on Adam. "Who told you that you were naked?" he asked gently. Then his voice deepened with sadness. "Have you eaten from the tree I commanded you not to eat from?" Adam shifted uncomfortably. "The woman, she gave me the fruit, and I ate it," he said, glancing toward Eve. Eve stepped forward, clutching her covering close. "The serpent deceived me, and I ate," she whispered. The garden grew utterly silent. The river's song faded. The flowers seemed to bow their heads. The birds stopped singing. God looked at them, not with surprise, for he already knew, but with a deep, aching sorrow. The beauty of the moment was gone. Something had changed forever. And so, God began to speak of what would come next. A gentle breeze whispered through the garden, but the warmth felt different now, heavier, like the air carried a quiet sadness. Adam and Eve stood before God, their eyes downcast, their hands clutching the leafy coverings they had made. The serpent slithered nearby, its glittering eyes shifting nervously. God's voice came, not in thunder, but in a deep, steady tone that filled the garden. First he turned to the serpent. "Because you have done this," God said, "you are cursed more than all animals. You will crawl on your belly, and you will eat dust all the days of your life." The serpent's body writhed in the grass. But then God spoke words that carried both judgment and a secret promise, a promise the world would not yet understand. "I will make you and the woman enemies," he continued. "Your offspring and hers will always fight. One day her descendant will crush your head, and you will strike his heel." The serpent hissed, its golden eyes narrowing, as if it sensed a future defeat it could not escape. Then God turned to Eve. Her hands trembled as she looked up. "Because you listened to the serpent and ate the fruit," God said softly, "you will have great pain when you bring life into the world, and you will long for your husband, but he will lead you." Eve's eyes filled with tears. She touched her belly, knowing that life would still come, but it would come with tears and struggle. Finally, God turned to Adam. Adam's shoulders slumped as he awaited his fate. "Because you listened to your wife and ate from the tree I commanded you not to eat from," God said, "the ground is cursed because of you. You will work hard all your life to make it grow food. Thorns and thistles will spring up, and by the sweat of your brow you will eat. In the end, you will return to the dust from which I made you." Adam closed his eyes. He remembered the joy of walking freely through Eden, the ease of plucking sweet fruit from the trees without toil. That time was over. The silence that followed was deep, as if all of creation had paused to mourn with them. But then, in the middle of the sorrow, God did something unexpected. He gently took animal skins and made clothes for Adam and Eve, dressing them himself. It was a small act, but it spoke loudly. Even in their failure, he still cared for them. Even in judgment, there was love. The sun was dipping low, painting the sky with streaks of gold and pink. Adam and Eve stood at the edge of the garden they had called home, the only home they had ever known. Behind them, Eden shimmered in the fading light, the crystal-clear river winding between tall, graceful trees, the air so sweet with the scent of blossoms, the soft songs of birds in colors too bright to name. It was more than a place. It was peace. It was joy. It was home. But they could not stay. God's voice was gentle but firm. "They must not eat from the tree of life and live forever in this brokenness," he said. Adam reached for Eve's hand, his fingers trembling. Eve's eyes glistened with tears as she took one last look at the tree of life, its golden fruit glowing softly in the distance. Then the sound came, a rush of wind, swift and powerful. Two mighty angels appeared. their faces radiant like the morning sun, their wings stretching high above their heads. In their hands they held swords of fire that blazed and turned in every direction, casting flickering light across the garden gate. The message was clear. Eden was closed. No one could enter again. Adam and Eve stepped forward, their bare feet pressing into the earth beyond the garden. The grass felt different here, rougher, wilder. The air was cooler, and the songs of Eden faded into silence. For a long moment, they stood still, holding hands. Behind them, the fiery swords flashed and turned, guarding the way to the tree of life. Before them stretched a wide, untamed world. Hills, valleys, rivers, forests, all beautiful but unknown. Eve leaned her head on Adam's shoulder. "Will we ever be happy again?" she whispered. Adam took a deep breath. "I don't know," he said softly, "but I know this. God still loves us, and he promised that one day, someone will come to make things right." And so, with slow, steady steps, they walked into the new world, together. The first journey of mankind had begun. Thank you for watching this epic folktale of Adam and Eve's fall in the Garden of Eden. I hope it will help you to better understand the plan of God for your life. Please like, share, and subscribe to Bible Folktales TV to watch and enjoy the other scripture stories in the series.